Hello and welcome to the first video in a series of Guilty Gear Strive character guides. I'm making these videos to help out newer players just getting into the Guilty Gear series, as well as those who might be interested in learning specific characters, but have no clue where to start. For this episode, we'll be starting with Anji Mito. Why Anji first? Well, simply put, he's the character I'm enjoying the most at the moment. Because of this, we are going to go alphabetically through the whole cast, so don't worry if your main isn't first on the list. First, let's go over the format of the series. We will start with an overview where I will provide a brief explanation on what kind of character it is we are talking about, as well as said character's strengths and weaknesses. Next, we will discuss their game plan, how to play, and how to beat. After, we will go over the tools in the character's toolkit, quickly discussing each tool's specific implications in their kit. After that, there will be a brief combo and setup section that should be a good starting point for anyone learning the character. Finally, we'll recap on the most important points, go over some notable resources, and notable people who play the character. Also, I'm going to be talking rather quickly throughout this video to help condense it down to a digestible size, but if need be, don't feel bad about slowing the video down in order to fully ingest all of the information. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Anji Mito is a unique Rekka character who applies dangerous pressure with his Fujin special move, using it to score knockdowns and set up some of the game's most dangerous Okizeme situations. Anji's toolkit is rather unique and doesn't fall into any easily definable categories, sporting some slow but long-range normals, a unique advancing parry mechanic called guard point, strong on-block pressure, and decent aerial presence. Anji excels at pressuring the opponent on block, easily putting the opponent into uncomfortable positions with Fujin. Anji's Oki game is one of the strongest in Strive thanks to his loopable pressure and his Shitsu special move. His guard point / parry can be used to punish characters in certain scenarios that are usually advantageous for them, leading to high reward for Anji. Anji's conversion pickups are very strong, allowing him to get lots of unique combos and punishes provided he has the resources to do so. Anji has tons of options for each scenario, allowing him to constantly pose the threat of some kind of mix to either open the opponent up or approach for free. Anji struggles with an over-reliance on specific tools in his toolkit that, if dealt with, can leave him feeling helpless. He needs guard points to play neutral, he needs Fujins to pressure on block, and he needs Ko to cover the skies. Anji can have trouble gaining momentum in certain scenarios, as his far-reaching normals have long startup, his approach options outside of guard point are lacking at best, and his loopable pressure scenarios require specific spacing and timing to set up. Anji relies on meter to Roman cancel his Fujin follow-ups if they end up unsuccessful, as without it, he can end up eating big punishes for the opponent guessing correctly. Anji has a major weakness to DPs, which completely destroy his Fujin pressure, meaning against characters with invincible reversals, he will have to take a completely different approach to win the match. As referenced previously, Anji's main goal is to get the opponent under pressure from Fujin. There are tons of ways to go about this, so let's start from the beginning of this journey, mid to full screen. Here, Anji is in a bit of a tough spot, lacking any projectiles to approach behind. Approach the opponent carefully, and remember to use guard point sparingly, as the enemy can punish you for it if they see it coming. Don't get too hasty with jump-ins, and play patient. Look for an opening, and take the opportunity to approach if it presents itself. If the enemy isn't opening themselves up, you can play neutral with his long-reaching buttons like 2S and 5H, but be careful, as these all have long startup and recovery and can easily be punished on whiff. An interesting trick Anji can use to approach is fully charging Ko, which will send Anji spinning at the enemy in an unhittable state, then launch him rapidly in the air. If the enemy isn't expecting it, you can punish their attempted punish of your guard point, or start block pressure if they weren't ready to anti-air. The key to Anji's neutral is not to sell yourself with any of these approach options. You need to mix them up and keep your opponent guessing, as on their own, they can be dealt with easily. It's the sheer number of options Anji has at any given scenario that lets him pose a threat, so don't be too predictable with your options. Once you're in Footsie's range, buttons like 5K and 5S become strong options, as 5K allows Anji to Gatling into 2D, which gains him Butterfly Oki, and 5S lets him Gatling into a Fujin combo. After making it in, pressure the opponent by delaying and mixing up the Fujin follow-ups. Keep it safe if you don't have meter, and only go for tricky stuff like the overhead if you have the meter to Roman cancel it on block, or have a strong read on your opponent. Make sure to mix in throws into your pressure, as Anji gets great reward thanks to his throws hard knockdown letting him set up butterfly pressure. Remember how I said Anji's tools are weak on their own but strong together? Your key goal against Anji is to individually process and deal with each one of these moves efficiently. Anji gets huge mileage off of minor mistakes, so play it safe when it comes to dealing with him, and don't get too impatient. Play reactionary when fighting Anji, and he will tend to open himself up thanks to his easily interruptible normals, punishable pressure, and weak approach options overall. Remember to watch out for guard point, and don't throw out heavy normals haphazardly. If Anji gets on you, using 50 meter to yellow RC isn't always a good option for pushing him back into his struggle area, and if your character has a DP, that's even better. As of Open Beta 2, Anji's Fujin special and every single one of its follow-ups can be punished by DP. I hope to god this changes, because it makes DP matchups near impossible for Anji, but even if it does, it's still a very strong option to get out of jail free against Anji. Just remember to use it sparingly. Anji doesn't have great reversal options to get out of your pressure, so if you get started on him, don't let him gain any breathing room. His guard point has too long of a startup to be reliably used as a reversal option, and his parry super is his only true reversal, meaning you can simply just not attack him if he tries it. Before we get started with any of Anji's moves, let's discuss his unique guard point mechanic. During certain special moves, Anji will perform a spin, which can be held to extend the amount of time he spends. During this spinning animation, Anji is in a parry state, and if any attack connects with him high or low, it will trigger a guard point. This will put the opponent into a set amount of special hit stop, freezing them in place long enough for Anji to get a punish or gain frame advantage. With certain quick buttons, the enemy will actually have the frame advantage after a guard point, but Anji can never be punished for a guard point, as he can block frame 0 after the move. If he doesn't catch a move, he will have to go through a whiff animation, which is admittedly quite fast, so it's not as punishable if you don't catch a normal as some other parries in other games. 5P is Anji's fastest button but nets him the least reward overall. At close range he can combo into 6P, and farther away he can go into 6H to start a block string. Anji's dedicated anti-air. This can net a nice combo near the corner. A long-reaching poke with very quick startup. This allows Anji to combo into his 2D, which in turn gives him Butterfly Oki, so that overall this is a very good button and should be used quite often. A standard close slash. Anji's main up-close Gatling starter, as well as a surprisingly okay anti-air that leads to the highest reward out of any of his other anti-air options. A decent mid-screen poke used to combo into Fujin. Be wary of its long startup. 5H has great range, but also has long startup. Strong in neutral, as on counter hit, it can combo into fully charged Fujin. A very strong 6H that is most effectively used to hit opponents attempting to escape Anji's pressure by backdashing, jumping, or low profiling. Can be cancelled into Fujin on any one of its 3 hits for a frame trap. Anji's tap 5D is very strong as it can be used during butterfly pressure to knock the opponent into the air, combo into butterfly as it falls, then a 5P combo. Other than that, it's a pretty standard 5D. A pretty standard 2P, nothing special about this one. Similar to 5K, this button has good range for a low and can Gatling into 2D for Butterfly Oki. Just make sure not to cancel the 2D into Butterfly without hit confirming it, as you can get punished big time for doing so. This move is low profile, and as such, extremely useful in neutral. Leads to pretty mediocre reward, but allows Anji to get in on an opponent who challenges it. Also has surprisingly good range for its animation. Another long-range, long startup move. This leads to great reward on hit and counter hit, and serves as one of Anji's primary combo filler normals. Useful on its own thanks to its low profile, but its real strength comes from its previously mentioned Gatling options, combined with the strong reward. Useful as a quick air-to-air, and nothing else really. A pretty mediocre button, used in some combos. One of Anji's 2 jump-in buttons. Has a good hitbox for catching people on the ground and in the air. Useful in combos too. Anji's other jump-in button. Decent for a more vertical jump-in. Has a cross-up hitbox. A very unique and very strong air normal that stops Anji dead upon its use. Great for air-to-airs and baiting out anti-airs. Anji's ground throw is probably the most useful in the game, thanks to its great reward off of Butterfly Oki, and Anji's general pressure tools allowing him to easily sneak in a grab or two now and then. A standard air throw that can be used to punish air dashes or jump-ins on reaction. Anji's infamous Butterfly special. After hitting the opponent, it dives down as a hawk, allowing Anji to keep the opponent blocking during its entirety. Amazing for pressuring the opponent on wake up, but really bad in neutral, so don't use it outside of scenarios where it's guaranteed to hit. After the butterfly hits, you can grab the opponent before the hawk dives down if they are focused on blocking, you can guard point if they try a reversal option, and you can always low overhead mix as well. This is Anji's defining special move. A Rekka with 4 different follow-ups that can all be delayed in order to threaten an opponent on block. As previously stated, Anji's Fujin is extremely weak to DPs, so make sure to consider that before throwing it out. Holding the button gives Anji guard point frames before the attack comes out, and if he holds it for its max length, it launches for better combos. Anji leaps up into the air and throws a fan downwards. This move is plus on block and will allow Anji to continue his Fujin pressure, but it leads to the least reward out of all of the follow-ups. A savvy opponent can jump it for a punish, so make sure to mix this effectively with the other options. Anji hops forward a short distance. This move is best used as a throw mix-up, as Anji can do Isokotobi into throw. This can be mashed out of, so be careful using it. Anji sweeps in front of him for a low-hitting soft knockdown. It is minus on blocks, so you don't want to use it half-heartedly, but is extremely good thanks to the ability to delay the Fujin follow-ups. It included, of course. By delaying Nagiha, you can frame trap a mashing opponent, sweep an opponent, option select in the overhead, and sometimes even catch a jump escape depending on the delay timing. Anji performs a quick overhead swing with his wind fans which lead to big combos on hit. This is punishable on block, so make sure you have the read on your opponent before you use it. This follow-up is the best at catching jump escapes, as it puts an airborne opponent into enough block stun to send them back down to Anji's buttons. Anji's main guard point special allows him to use guard point easily in neutral without the risk of whiffing a Fujin or Ko afterwards. Another one of Anji's strongest tools, Ko is a lightning-fast anti-air, as well as a mix-up in and of itself, since it launches Anji into the air but doesn't put him into a freefall, meaning he can use this to juke an opponent checking his approach, then punish. This is best done after its hold version, which performs functionally the same as Fujin's hold. Note that this move does not hit grounded opponents. A relatively weak super, to be quite honest. Doesn't do great damage, isn't invincible, and Anji has better meter uses anyways. Its only real use is to rack on extra damage before a wall break if you think it's gonna kill. Now this one is a relatively strong super. An invincible reversal parry super that does really good damage. It can be Roman cancelled for huge damage combos, but that's also all of your meter gone. Anji is a character with tons of great pressure tools and lots of options to keep the opponent guessing. Uses long-range buttons and guard point to annoy the opponent in neutral, and use any openings as a way to get his Fujin pressure started, where he is at his scariest. Remember to be wary of DPs, Anji's greatest weakness. After gaining a hard knockdown, set up Shitsu for strong wake-up pressure.